order. We'll begin with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Whaley. Everyone please stand, please.
Father, I just thank you specifically for this council that's worked so hard together, and just ask you to be with us tonight as we continue and conclude the work of this year. We thank you for the hard work of our staff and our administrators. We ask you to just have us keep in mind that we have many people that we are to be concerned about, including our residents, our visitors, and our business owners, and just protect the members of this council from any negativity that's out there in the world. Bless this city and make us grateful for it. We are grateful for this great county and state, and thank you for this country. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll begin with the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, November the 18th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
November 12th, 2025, special call meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Approval of agenda or motion to amend.
I make a motion per the attorney, the city attorney, that we add a motion to officially move the meeting in January to the 5th. Also, I'd like to add a discussion item of the retreat that has been paid for by the city. And also make a motion to remove the second reading into consideration under action item agenda 7B, which will be the benefit retirement plan.
Okay, is there a second?
I think there was one other item to approve the minutes from the December 2nd, 2025 special call meeting.
Okay, we'll put that under action. So approve the minutes. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So number 5, administrative update. I've asked Ms. Cody to she is going to give us a written update on all projects, anything involving administrative, executive affairs of the city, as well as any updates on zoning, building permits, etc. She will be giving that to us in a written form, and I think her contract ends December the 31st, so she'll be presenting that to us to the council current and the upcoming. So we'll move on from that. Discussion items, and I guess we'll add the retreat. So do you want to start?
I do. I'm a little confused. Let me get my microphone up here so you can hear me. I'm a little confused. I sat right here at this same spot and told the city and the people of the city and all of our patrons here that the city was in financial trouble 2 months ago, and stood right there. I sat here and asked questions, and I believe you guys can recall that I asked if the city was on fire, and it was, yeah, we're on fire. We got a problem. Yeah, we got a problem. We've made mistakes. Yes, we've made mistakes, and I believe I apologize for those mistakes. So I guess my confusion is that we said we didn't have the money, and we stopped all expenditures that weren't important expenditures. And then I find out we're having a retreat at Lake Lanier Island, and it's costing somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. And I'm a little confused as to how we moved from being in a financial situation like this to spending $8,000 or $10,000 for a retreat. So I'd like an explanation if I can get one.
Would you like to give one, or would you like me to start?
Why don't you start, Mayor, and I'll fill in.
So I think, Jack, too, on that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I would like to address that too. What was said at the meeting was that the only department that was struggling was city water, city sewer, but it was not even in the red. But if we, that we needed to look at projects and stop them. I believe our local paper put in the paper, finances are on fire, and, we're basically going to hell in a handbasket, the way it made it sound. And it was horrible. I mean, you can't. The people who stopped me on the street, why is the city failing? Why are the finances? We're not. If you would have listened, the comments that were made was that the process of not hiring a financial director is what caused us to be in the situation we are, and we have corrected those problems. It's not that our finances are on fire. And as Mandy said last Friday, we're doing really pretty well. We're maintaining balances in our general fund and the other accounts that we have. That's the issue. So I am glad you brought that up, because I wanted to say that and make sure that the public understands that. And where the newspaper, why they wrote it like that. I have my suggestions, my ideas, but, I guess that sells more papers. So, yeah, there comes the paper now. You just missed all that. You'll have to go back and watch the video.
So
Anyway.
Now we're fine. The city's fine.
What I said last week at the budget session.
I heard you. I watched it.
Good, very good. What I said at the original one, and I stand by that, was that there's a number of important data points that remain unavailable to us. And I said that the water fund is not performing to meet the needs of the city. And I continue to express that on Friday afternoon's budget work session. I did go into further detail Friday afternoon about the general fund, which is the operating fund for the city. And I did say that based on the data that we had from the 23 audit and the 25 year to date information, that the operating fund and the general fund is continuing to perform at or below levels, very consistent over the annual years that we have in data, and that the general fund balance, or the reserve account, is very, very healthy. So from a financial perspective, I would say that the investment of about $10,000 to train and equip the mayor and council on the very consequential decisions coming the way of this body very early in 2026 is a very, not just a reasonable investment, but a very highly, strongly recommended investment. And I'll finish my thought, please. To equip this body to make, again, I will say, the very consequential decisions that are before it, and to learn from some of the mistakes that have been made in the previous years, and to know what is facing you and how to do better. Now, I want to say, and go on the record, that the plan and the commitment for this council conference to equip the conference, to equip the elected officials, was made only after consultation with every member of the 2025 mayor and council governing body and every member of the 2026 mayor and council coming in. And every member expressed very positive feedback and support for us moving forward with those plans. Several times I confirmed and reconfirmed, spoke with the mayor, spoke with the mayor-elect, they confirmed and reconfirmed, and I moved forward at the very last minute under that authority and under that support from both of those officials and the council officials to put that into place. It is a very heavy lift for your staff and your consultants to get that together. It is a very heavy lift for those of you participating to do so at the week of Christmas, and I will continue to encourage you to do so.
I'm not saying that what you said is incorrect. I believe that a training for these folks would be absolutely essential. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that 2 months ago, I sat up here and I told the constituents here that we had a problem.
And you do.
Okay.
And I remain, and I stand behind
Let
this
me
conference.
finish my thought, please. Do we have the 2025 budget in? Is it done?
You adopted a 2025 budget about this time last year.
Is it correct? Is the 24 budget finished? Is the 25 budget finished? And we're fixing to vote on a 26.
I'm gonna clarify those comments.
Okay,
I
go
addressed-
ahead,
And I
please.
addressed all of this on Friday afternoon.
Okay,
Your you adopted a 2024 budget sometime late in year end of 2023. You are currently trying to get an audit completed for the fiscal year 2024. And no, it is not complete. As we reviewed this last Friday, it has encountered a number of challenges. Those challenges are being worked through, and it is now in preparation stages. It is with your financial consultant, and your auditor is on standby to receive those materials. We have also learned, in addition to those unforeseen challenges when we started this process, we have also learned, and this council has been briefed, that a single audit would be required by the federal government, and which is going to add additional workload and time to that process. That process remains ongoing. You adopted a 2025 budget in November or December of 2024. That budget had a number of challenges and deficiencies in it. We've covered those. Personnel were not allocated to departments. Special revenues, including capital project revenues, were not allocated or tallied. And there were no revenues adopted in that particular budget. We've covered all of that. We have also covered that for the better part of 24 and 25 calendar years, you did not have a finance staff or director that was skilled to bookkeep the revenues and expenditures that were coming in and out of the city. And we went through the discussion last Friday about how you operate out of a pooled cash account that now requires us going back and trying to properly allocate and code each and every revenue and expenditure that has come in this fiscal year 2025 year. That is also an ongoing process. As I reported to you on Friday, when we first talked about the budget, we only had expenditure numbers through September 30th. As of Friday, I gave you the expenditure numbers as of October 31st. We continue to make progress. We are not complete. We should be, in a normal circumstance, your budget year would close December 31st of 2025, here just in a few days. Your new budget year would start on January 1st, 2026. And your staff would begin the process of closing the fiscal year 2025 books, closing the 2025 books. And you would begin that audit process. You are not prepared to do that because we are still booking 2025 year-to-date expenditures and revenues and coding those things.
that's my point. We don't have any of them audited. We're gonna have to adopt a 26 because state law requires it, right? And then we're gonna have to amend that one. I don't believe this is the time. I agree that they need the training. I just don't believe this is the time to do the training. I think that after January, if they wanna vote to do the training, they should. But I don't believe that we should have training when we don't have our budgets audited. This is the problem we've been having. I don't disagree they need to be trained. I don't disagree. With what you're doing. What I disagree with is the timing of it. It's not time for that yet.
Well, if I may, I'm not doing this. I have worked at the instruction of the mayor and the members of the governing body and the mayor-elect and the incoming council members with their consensus and blessing, all of them, all of you. I even discussed this with you, Councilman Taylor, months ago because I began to have these conversations back in October. Now,
I wasn't
reason
under the
why-
impression at that time though, Mandy, that we were gonna be spending $10,000.
Well, I'm sorry that you were not under that impression. We could have continued to have this discussion had you allowed me to do so. I would have been happy to continue that discussion with you as I have continued it with a number of your colleagues. But let me explain the perspective of the timing from my thought process. It is absolutely the prerogative of this council and the next to decide what any training they want to conduct and participate in and the timing of that. Two very important considerations, I think, for the timing of the training. Number one, the vast amount of consequential decisions that are coming before this board very early in the new year, I think made training sooner rather than later imperative. Number two, as has been said, my contract with you ends here in just a few days, on December 31st. I have no obligation to you and you have no obligation to me beyond that date and time. I was offering to add this to the task load that I had taken on for you and to do so within my contracted time so that you had no further obligations with me and no further financial commitment to me, but I could give you within the scope of my contract terms, the benefit of the knowledge that I have procured pertaining to your city during the time that I have been with you. If I leave here on December 31st and you have not had an opportunity to get that from me, we may not have an opportunity to come together at a later date. Now, I don't say that by way of threat. I say that by way of consideration to you all. I felt it was more responsible to give you the benefit of what I have obtained over these last several months while I was still with you.
Mandy, may I speak a minute?
Yes, sir.
At least a dozen times, and half of those while we still had a finance director and a city administrator, I made the very strong suggestion that we take an opportunity that had been given to us by GMA to have a training session of this council. It was resisted at every time it was recommended, but I believe that a lot of our problems we would not have had if we had had a collegial meeting in the first 3 months or even the first 24 months that we were together. And repeatedly I got GMA to put together an agenda and offer to host it. And I am of the opinion, having reviewed this budget, I went to the budget hearing, I asked questions, I can only one to ask questions, and I am convinced that the budget we're going to pass has revenues in it that allow you to go get trained
It
and
does.
that we have the money. Now, I also said
25 or
that
26,
if,
Doc?
that if, Jackie asked her to let you finish, and she asked, and I plan to finish, so just hold your horses. As I said at that meeting previously, failing the willingness of the council to allow this expenditure of $7,500, I'll get hold of Caesar over there and we'll go downtown and start collecting like with a march of dimes and come up with some money. So somebody's got to get this council together and get them trained, and I've tried for 4 years and I had no influence in doing it. I commend you for having made the decision. I don't think that, I've been to lots of conferences at Lake Lanier Island, and it ain't the Ritz-Carlton, and I think that it's well worth what you're gonna be spending on it. And I would vote with the council to let you do what you have offered to do for the cost that you have been able to arrange. And I would quit confusing audits for 23, audits for 24, and the lack of trained staff with this thing, which is totally separate, not related in any fashion, in my opinion. And those two issues, both of them, are not together.
Thank
And
you,
I speak then in behalf of, let's stop this discussion. There's no motion on the floor to cancel it. There's been no actionable suggestion made. There's just been a discussion, and this is under discussion, and I suggest that we move on.
Well, I would like to say something, if you don't mind, yes, thank you. Mandy did ask me, she asked me early on, what I thought about it. I thought it was a great idea. Every one of them were respectful enough to ask me if I was okay with the expense. Absolutely. Considering everything that we're in right now, you know, they're coming into something that's not the norm. So they need to be prepared, and like you said, there's some things coming up. So I absolutely think it's necessary, and there's been a lot of money over the past 4 years that has not really, that's been spent, that's not needed to, or that wasn't completely necessary. This is pretty necessary, so I just wanted to say that, and I really applaud them for wanting to do this and wanting to get in there and learn even before they even take office. So I 100% support it.
Okay, are there any more comments or questions? Anybody? Okay. Moving on to the next item, action item A, consideration of a motion for ordinance, which is actually a resolution, BR 2025-7 of the City Council for the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to adopt a budget for all funds of the city for the fiscal year 2006. And of course, we've had one public hearing, one workshop for discussion, so Is there a motion?
I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to clear up that in one place here it is BR 2025-7, and in another it's BR 2025-12. So whichever one it is.
It is 12, actually. I think that
okay,
was a
that's fine.
typo.
Whichever one it is.
Yeah,
I
12 is the
move-
correct
I
one.
move the adoption
Mhm.
of that budget. I believe that it is a balanced budget. It meets the legal requirements that we have under the state, and it is our responsibility to give the new council a budget that they can amend at their pleasure. I also would ask, since we have discussed it among ourselves, that we remove the portion of the budget that speaks to the retirement and the rule of 80. Therefore, my motion is pass the budget as written and as workshopped, with the proviso that the rule of 80 portion will be removed and at the will of the new council could be amended back in at any point.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we're going to have a roll call vote. Dr. Whaley?
Definitely in four.
Yes? Angie?
Yes.
Jack?
Yep.
Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay. So the budget is approved for so you guys have a operating budget for 2026, yay! Okay. Item B has been removed, and do we need to vote on, let's see, we added also December 2nd, special called meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I think we did when it
We
came up.
did 12th, the
Okay.
12th.
Yeah, we have.
So,
I'm
yeah, we
moving.
haven't voted yet, yep. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay? At this time, we will have public comments if there are any.
Are we gonna do
Oh,
the
yeah,
regular meeting?
gotta do that, yes. We're gonna have to, do I have a motion to change the meeting, the first regular meeting to January the 5th? Is there a motion? And that way you guys can get sworn in then, without waiting till the third week. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to move the regular scheduled meeting for January to January the 5th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I think they both second. Let's just have a roll call vote on that. Dr. Whaley?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. So it's now time for public comments.
Mayor and council, thank you for your leadership and the honesty reflection of the 2026 budget discussions. I know last week, or the last meeting in here, doing that. As someone who loves this town, faith, family, and business all rooted here, I want to encourage continued clarity and collaboration, especially as planning decisions and public communications impact the confidence of Blue Ridge. Businesses thrive where expectations are clear, information is accurate, and voices are heard early. I appreciate the council's desire to address misinformation, and I'd encourage the same commitment to proactive, transparent communication that builds trust before conflict arises. From a business and community standpoint, Blue Ridge Business Association stands ready to be a bridge, listening, gathering feedback, and helping to ensure growth remain thoughtful, balanced, and worthy of the place that we all call home. We're praying for wisdom as you lead, and we look forward to working alongside you this year.
Good.
Thanks,
And I'm going to break protocol. This is my last meeting. I can do what I want to do. I want to say I've been doing this for 16 years. The Business Association has been at every meeting. They come, they represent, they speak on behalf of all the businesses downtown, on behalf of all the people. And thank you. I'm impressed. You guys deserve a hand. Not only that, everything you do with every parade, Light Up Blue Ridge, Fire and Ice, every event that's downtown, it's because of you guys. People think it's us, and I just take credit. So, but it's you guys. You are the ones, and you make it happen. And I am so happy that you guys, that I have had the opportunity to be a part of all this. And I'm going to miss you guys. So, I will. Yeah, you do. You really do. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, I have a couple things. One, because this is the last meeting, I wanted to thank both Bill Whaley and you, Mayor, for your contributions to the city for the last 4 years. We appreciate it. And I think you've both done a fantastic job. The second thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is the liquor licensing that's going on right now. We still don't have a form that takes away the redundant things that we're supposed to be doing year after year after year. In fact, the new one is even asking for both myself and my wife to go through a background check. These are things that we've done over and over and over again, and we need to make a stop to it and go, we haven't seen the new form yet, and the December 15th deadline has come and gone. So I'm assuming that has all been moved. But the bottom line is, nobody knows it. There's been no notification to the businesses that have liquor licenses as to what's coming, how you deal with it, and what's going on. So I'm just asking this council, figure it out, get it done. I mean,
And we
need to
do
it
have,
done.
we do have an update on that, so.
Does anybody know
Actually,
about it?
well, Mandy's going to tell it now, so. And newspaper, you guys can put it in there if you don't care.
Yeah, and that's all I have, buddy.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
So as council recalls, you all did adopt an amendment to the alcohol ordinance that significantly reduces the burden for renewing alcohol license and what has to be submitted. And it's really basically, if no changes have been made to the ownership, the location, the partnerships, those sorts of things, we're not gonna be asking for any of those documents to be continued to be submitted. That's reflective of the ordinance amendment that you all adopted. And assuming there's been no public nuisance or safety issues at those locations. We have been communicating with those folks who have been in communication with us about the renewals. The renewal form has been later than expected going out, and I will apologize for that. It has been drafted. It is in the final kind of production stage, if you will, to be put into the proper format. So folks will be able to use it and to be able to electronically use it and submit it. We expect that will go out this week. And lots of folks have been, we have not released a public statement, but we've been communicating with our customers as they have come in. And I have signed off on extending that. No one will be penalized because they missed a renewal deadline waiting on the availability of the form. That's one avenue. The second avenue is those customers who wish to complete the original application just for a renewal, just to hold their place in the renewal line, so to speak, and not submit any attachments to it, have been offered the opportunity to do that as well. So I do apologize for the tardiness in that. We are working on that. That's been one of the things that we've been trying to address here lately. We expect to get that tidied up this week, and I assure you nobody will be penalized for the delay in that form being formatted.
When a business owner reports that had been in business for years, that they were asked again for a passport and a pint of blood, basically they're not. They can get the old form, fill out a few pages, a page, or wait for the new form. Is that
Right,
correct?
and the new form is basically gonna be to like check the boxes, has there been any
Right.
changes
I
in
just-
ownership
I'm
and all that
saying
kind of
that
stuff?
so the
and-
newspaper can report it
Yes.
in a proper fashion.
Yes.
Okay.
The
When
new-
will the new form be ready?
This week. Like I said, I've already drafted the new form based on the changes, we're just in the formatting and production stage at this point.
Will they pick it up here? We mail them out.
Either one, we can email it, that's part of the production stage, is we're trying to put it in the format where it can be paper copy, electronic copy, pick up, mailed, emailed, whatever format folks need to get it in, that's what we're doing now.
And what time frame do you see once it's submitted, it going back to them for approval? Once it's submitted to you or whoever, how long do you see this form taking to be approved?
The form has been designed where it will be a very quick and easy process for us, staff-wise, to review it for compliance and reissuance, because it's very check the box, yes, no, and as long as all those boxes are checked, and basically there's been no changes in the formation of the ownership structure, the partnerships, the location, the managing agent or resident, those sorts of things, it will not take us very long to administratively review that. Now, I will caution, what volume do we get in at the same time could cause a little delay, because we are in renewal season for occupational tax certificates as well as alcohol license. The same team that does that also does permitting So, but I would say, we try to turn those types of applications around no greater than 2 weeks. And the volume remaining steady, I would expect no more than 2 weeks. Yes, ma'am. I thought you had
I did have a question about license. I had a few business owners that asked me about, some of the things that y'all are requiring, and, one of them I think was, requiring a lease. Is that right, Kristen? Yeah. The lease, is that something new, or is that in our ordinance, or?
That is not new. So there's a couple things that are being required for occupational tax certificates, what we commonly think of as a business license and call it a business license. It's not, it's an occupational tax certificate. So there's 2 forms that are being required, which is a function of state law. We talked a little bit about this back in the spring. Some of you may remember there's like an annual immigration form and an E-Verify form. Those are not city decisions or city prerogatives. That's what's coming down to us from the federal and state governments. And we're required to collect those, and they have, some of them have to be notarized. We not only have to collect those, we as a city are in the process right now of compiling that information and preparing our mandated report based on those documents to the state of Georgia for what's called our annual immigration reporting. If we do not collect those forms and then timely submit the annual immigration report from the city based on those documents, the city itself becomes non-compliant and gets on various naughty lists, which we're trying to stay off of. The lease submittal is really, I think, a matter of interpretation. I know the city attorney's been read into this, so he may want to opine on this as well. You only need an occupational tax certificate if you have a physical location or physical structure within the municipal boundaries. That's what the state law says and the local ordinance mimics. Some cities and counties do require that a lease actually be submitted as part of the application process. Some do not. In my experience, and again, Chuck may have a different opinion or a different experience on that. I know we have a meeting scheduled, I think, at 8:30 in the morning to discuss the particulars. I believe, my understanding is it has been a practice to require a lease at OTCs. And so my counsel to the staff team has been to continue whatever practice was previously in existence with renewals.
Yeah, I think really the point is to show a couple of things. One is proof of occupancy and location for purposes of licensing. I don't know that it necessarily has to be a lease. I mean, in the case of property ownership, it could be a deed. So I think it's, it is in its truest sense an occupational license, and it is the fee that you pay for occupying a space here in Blue Ridge. And so whether that's a product of fee ownership or whether that's a product of a leasehold interest, we're going to talk about this in the morning, and so I'm not aware if this has become a big problem, but it may very well be that there are other forms of proof of occupancy that we could have in order to establish just that, and also the location of the business.
I think some of it was just that was a little personal, giving a lease and an amount and all that, so I mean, if it could be reworded somehow that, just to.
To get a driver's license, you can do it with your power bill or something. We ought to make this as easy as we can.
easy.
And
I mean,
thing
as I've said, I've worked in communities that did not require, if you filed an application for an occupational tax certificate and said, I volunteer to pay my taxes to
Yeah.
occupy this space and be a business, and you put the location down and it appeared to be inside the municipality, no one questioned it. We took you at your word and said, thank you for paying your occupational taxes.
And I think that's right.
Yeah.
And so,
It should be simple.
and again, this, to my knowledge, until yesterday, I was not even aware that this was or becoming a problem for folks. So we'll talk about it.
First I heard of it was late last week.
And so it may very well be that something short of the actual lease or an actual deed or something will suffice. And I agree with Mandy, if somebody is willing to get an occupational tax certificate and pay for it in the city, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Was any business person asked or included in any of this discussion on what you're doing with licensing? No.
Well,
And did it come from the zoning board? And I'm on the zoning board, I didn't know anything about it. You would think if you're doing.
I'm not sure.
I don't
don't think it did come from there, no. Yeah, and I'm not sure, yeah.
You know, that's what I was asking, was it an
Ask me.
ordinance, if it was an ordinance, but.
Yeah,
you know.
I've never had to give my license out of, I've been in business since 2014 and I've never had to give my lease, like ever, not once.
Well, that may be
Yeah.
true, like I said, you know,
I
I'm
thought
not
it was an
necessarily
ordinance.
familiar with the past practices. What I will say is, we have two new people in the permitting and taxing and licensing office who are trying to learn a very complex set of very technical, very legal issues, building permitting, land disturbance permitting, sign permitting, like, you know, OTCs, business licensing, alcohol licensing. And one of those two is also learning how to be a city clerk, and she learned how to conduct elections for you all. You know, I would just ask for a little grace in that, you know, it was still relatively new employees who are being trained. This is their first renewal season from start to finish. We've discussed before how our forms have been in need of improvement and amendment. Many of those forms, if you all recall, we had it on a presentation slide recently, how many forms have been added to our form menu, our application menu to provide some missing ones. How many have been revised and there's still a handful under development. You know, that's, again, I think your team is doing as good a job under the very challenging circumstances that they can. We're continuing to train, we're continuing to try to develop forms. But the occupational tax certificates, the laws surrounding that, I think Chuck will agree with me, are heavily driven by what state statute allows us to do and requires us to do. And we've already talked about alcohol licensing and the confusion there. And when you all amended the alcohol licensing to change the terms for renewal, you may recall we said, look, this ordinance could use a wholesale review from top to bottom and a revision, but we were not going there. We did not have the time and resources to do that. We were simply addressing, relieving some of the burden of the renewals, and we have done that, and we are trying to get that form out, that application form out.
Well, I know zoning, a lot of laws and things on that and different things, so the permit and things on that, I understand, but the business license though, that to me could be pretty simple though.
Is there a way that we can simplify that to where we're not asking for leases?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
As I said, we have a discussion to review that plan for in the morning. It just, as Chuck said, it just came to his attention today. It just came to mind. I don't recall if it was like Thursday afternoon or early Friday morning.
I think I just heard of it
So-
Monday, yesterday, maybe.
So it's, you know, it's Tuesday evening, and I'm trying to get to that particular issue. We'll work through that tomorrow. I hear you. I hear what you're saying is to make that process as simplified as possible. We will bear that in mind in the morning. As I said, I've worked in communities that did not require that. So we'll come out, we'll try, if you all want us to release a statement tomorrow, we'll be happy to do so.
While still protecting the public, as simple as possible while still getting
Right.
the information necessary to protect the public.
Typically, in my experience, and all I can speak to is my experience, but I've had a lot of it, and a lot of it in this particular area, at renewals, not a new occupational tax certificate application for a new establishment, but at renewals, we have typically only required a renewal application, the payment of any administration fees, the payment of the taxes, and any required forms that the state or federal government tells us that we must collect.
So no background check at renewals.
No, there's never a background check to
And I
for a
understand.
pure occupational tax
I
certificate.
understand
Those
that.
background checks are not required.
But what if we have somebody that gets convicted of a felon?
For an occupational tax certificate, that is irrelevant to that review, and I'll let the city attorney speak to the legalities of that, but I will tell you, in my experience, we had, in a previous city many years ago, I had an occupational tax application come across my desk for a tow truck company to be owned and operated by folks who I knew personally had gone to jail, federal prison, for violating the laws in the previous operation of a tow truck company. And so I knew, or I can't say I knew, I suspected strongly that they were gonna go back to stealing cars as soon as they got a business license to do so. And we met with the police chief and the city attorney and various other entities in that community. Again, that was a different community at a different time, but it was very clearly to me the law at that point in time, and to those who were supporting that your criminal behavior and what I suspect your criminal behavior may be in the future is really irrelevant to the issues of an occupational tax certificate, because you have a constitutional right to engage in commerce.
But what about liquor license? Same thing apply?
No, an alcohol license is a license, it's a privilege, and just as your driver's license is a privilege, which you must
Understood.
earn and maintain, an alcohol license is the same thing, and it is a public safety issue. Alcohol is deemed one of those inherently dangerous activities where you can regulate that more, and you do. And so there is a criminal background check for alcohol license.
Which is gonna take longer.
It does. But it is it's a criminal background check, but there's a defined time, it's 10 years in your ordinance, a defined set of, convictions that can be held against you in the review of an alcohol license. And one of the changes you all made in the amendment was, not to have to submit an annual criminal history check or background check. So one of the new application for renewal simply asks you, have you been convicted of any of these defined crimes in the last 12 months? And if you say no, then I'm not gonna ask you for an updated background check. If you say yes, then obviously I'm gonna ask you for an updated background check and probably deny the license.
And if we find out you lied, we're gonna yank your license.
If you gave
Yeah.
false or misleading information on your renewal application, then
So
that
my
certainly
question
gives
is,
you
how are we
rights.
gonna find it?
I'm sorry?
How do we find it if we don't look for it? So if I've got a liquor license and I get convicted of a felon tomorrow,
Mhm.
after I've already renewed, so I can go how long before you check again?
Under the revisions, under the amendment to the ordinance that this council passed,
I supported that amendment.
you did. It is not required that a criminal background or criminal history check be submitted to the city again unless we ask for it, and we would have to have grounds on which to ask for it.
So basically, you ask it at the beginning when they get the license, but then after that, on renewals, you don't.
That's right.
And that
On
makes
the
sense.
renewals, we would
Yeah.
just simply say, in the last 12 months, have you been convicted of any
Yes.
of the following crimes? And those are the crimes that are identified in the license that would have a negative impact on your ability to hold a license. That's what the amendment provides for.
I filled out the paperwork for my Tennessee medical license renewal today. It's sitting in the truck in an envelope. It had 5 questions. Have you gotten hooked on drugs, been accused of a felony, or accused or convicted? And it was check the box and send a check.
Yeah, and that's what the renewal form is aiming to do. And again, we would have to have knowledge that someone had been convicted or find that out, and they would have maybe even had to lie, give misleading information.
And Caesar, I will ask them to put something out tomorrow, to send an email out and put maybe something on our Facebook to, yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. I've had several calls myself. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Something like that, in my opinion, shouldn't have went out if it's citizen, and nobody on the council has a clue that it went out.
That-
You don't know, and you don't know which.
What do you talk about that went out? I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
What email?
What email went out? I don't even know what you're talking about. Uh-huh.
What did the email say? You wanna come to the podium and speak?
It was
Yeah.
the first email that went out.
Let him speak, Caesar, and then I'll give you a
It
minute
was
to
the
speak.
first email that went out, and it was a reminder about the time and date when the applications were due. I believe it was the 10th or 15th.
Okay,
My biggest problem, and Chad and I both scurried around to get the information. We have the information. That's not a big deal. We know the parcel number. We know what kind of business we are. We know that we haven't been arrested. There's a timeline that needs to be done. Most people don't have that information. We luckily own our property, so we do. And I stay on top of that. But a lot of people don't have that information, so it's gonna take them longer. Now, we also have the process, which, one of my biggest problems with the city is, I think one person should be in charge of licensing. We need to delegate that to somebody, because if I have an issue, I should be able to come to one person, not a city council, or not bounce and forth between offices. That's just a recommendation. But it takes a lot of paperwork, and thank you, Jennifer, she's not here. She helped us do all the things. But it's a timeline, and it's a pain in the ass, like it really is. I mean, I
Oh, I
pulled
get
all the
it.
paperwork, did all the things, But you got a lot of new businesses too that are coming in that we need the background checks. You got businesses that are being sold to other people, we need the background checks.
Just, can I ask, are you still talking about occupational taxes,
Alcohol.
business line? Okay,
Alcohol.
Alcohol. I mean, occupational, if you're gonna pay the money, pay the money. I don't care.
We all agree, yeah.
But if you've got a liquor license,
Yeah.
I agree that the background check should be done, but everything needs to be timely. So next year, in October, we need to say, hey, you have 6 weeks.
So, are we giving them a grace period, Mandy?
Mhm.
Are we gonna do that every year until we get our information, our searching or whatever we do done? Are we, if they cut off November 1st, are we giving them till we get finished? They can still serve?
That would be my
Yeah.
recommendation, and that's what we've done while I've been assisting you all.
And that's,
All right,
and
so-
that's the direction I've given
Here's your
to.
other
So
problem.
let me, hold on, let me ask you one more question. Is it possible if we want to do a background check, this man's got a liquor license, he comes in, he does his application, we go ahead and let him continue to serve, we issue his liquor license or whatever we do, but we check his background? Is that possible after we've issued? Can we go back and take a look to make sure that he hasn't done anything that he shouldn't?
We signed an affidavit to you and had it notarized, saying that you have the right from this day, from January 1st to December 31st of 2026, that if you feel the need to pull a background check on us, you have the right. By us signing that and you notarizing it, you have that right. We've already got.
Well, that's not what I'm asking, I understand that.
We've already gave you our background check when we got our license initially, when we opened the business. So every year of us signing that, if you have an issue like she was speaking of earlier, that you suspect something that me or my partner has done, you have that right to automatically pull a background check and then come to our building, our spot of occupation, jerk our license.
I understand what you're saying, and I realize that. What I'm asking Mandy is that if we don't have an indication, but we want to go ahead and do the background check, is it possible to go ahead and issue their stuff? What does it cost us to do a background check? How much money does it cost us to do a background check?
I don't have an answer to how much it costs for us to do background check, because the applicants,
They do their own.
do their own.
Okay, that's what I need. So we're not doing it, they're doing their own.
They're doing their own, and I think I agree with what this gentleman.
Yeah,
said.
I understand now. I just wondered where the background check come from, if we were doing it or they were. We're requiring them to do a background check on themselves when they get the application, when they get.
Initially.
Only
Initially.
for original.
Yeah.
Right,
For the
but,
original, we gotta
but we're
get
not
it
doing,
fingerprinted.
okay, all right.
For an OTC and no longer for renewals.
I understand now, I understand where we are now. I
The
get
other
it.
problem you're gonna run into is some of the distributors, not all of them, some of them require a city license in order for us to get product to sell. Now, if we don't have that city license on time, I can't get product and I can't sell, so I'm not making any money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does, so can we issue them a temporary city license until we finish their paperwork?
Guys, we are doing everything we can, and we will continue to do everything we can. We are still on target to get everybody in and out of here by December 31st and have everybody what they need before their current license expires.
And listen, we appreciate all your hard work. Don't,
Thank you.
we appreciate your hard work. You've been handed a book of craziness, I know.
Thank you. Yes,
But I think moving forward,
Understatement.
in the next couple of years, October, we say, hey, put it together, do the
I
things.
agree with you on that, and if you remember, when I was hired at the end of April, we were still processing renewals for alcohol license and OTCs for 2025. So we had to work through all of that backlog, again, with new and untrained staff, we were working through all of that backlog. And about the time we finished all that, we hit renewal season, to get everybody licensed and certificated for 2026. I apologize if there's been any confusion. We sent reminders, we sent letters, we sent notices, we've documented everything that we knew how to document, and we've done the best we can. If we continue to fail you guys, I'm sorry.
It's not your failing, it is moving into the future now. We want to make sure that these are streamlined. That's what we all
Yeah,
voted for.
I think we have turned that position over probably 4 or 5 times. I know 4 at least, maybe 5. So it's been a challenge and just training people. But we do have someone. Thank goodness Kelsey was our city clerk years ago, so she had knowledge. And when she came in, she's catching on. And like Mandy said, my gosh, you guys remember, we had a backlog of applications that had not been processed. So we've caught up with them. Now we're moving forward with this, and we do hope to get. I know they're working on also making it easy so you can apply it with certain, just go online and you can click on it, fill out your application, and click a send button, which will be the best thing that will ever happen. And that will be hopefully when we have a new mayor, and that will happen hopefully next year. So, but thank y'all for being patient with us and getting all this. We certainly appreciate that. And we'll try to get notice out to everybody tomorrow. Does anyone else have a comment?
Let me just double check, so that also the business license is gonna be revisited too, as far as.
I think she said they're having a meeting tomorrow to go over the guidelines for that, for the occupational tax. If you want to be here at 8:30, you can be a part of that if you want to, maybe. If you want to have a voice. But it sounds like that's what Mandy was saying. It's up to the council. If you guys want to remove that provision that's been maybe in there some, maybe not, again, going through different personnel in that position, now they are looking back saying, hey, yeah, we need this lease. If you guys don't think we need it, I'll ask them to remove it. So you don't think they do?
You wanna come to the podium? You're raising your hand.
I just wanted to know if that was gonna be open to the public tomorrow morning.
No, it's not. No.
Occupational tax license.
No. It's just, I think, staff meeting, so. But yeah, I say let's go ahead and, if it sounds like the majority of the council doesn't want that portion, let's just remove that. Is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you think it's perfect,
That's,
perfect. Yeah,
The-
whatever's legal.
that's the,
So-
that's the purpose for the
Yeah,
meeting.
so, okay. Perfect. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay.
Hey everyone,
Hello.
my name's Tommy Waslick. I'm thankful that you guys serve us, and I know it's not easy, and it's really challenging at times, but I've never been to a meeting before, and this is my first time. And I think it just gives me a greater respect for people like you that really try to aim the city in the direction that you guys want it to go and we want it to go. So a lot of respect to you guys. So I work in banking, and particularly my line of work has to do with housing. And you guys already probably know this, but there is a pretty big gap between the sales price of homes in Blue Ridge and how much each household is bringing home. And that gap right now is about 11 to 1. And what that means, if I give you an example, is San Jose, California is in that same place. And that's like Silicon Valley is where all the entrepreneurs go. It's where all the wealthy go. And that's where technology is just going full steam ahead. And it's considered one of the least affordable places to live in the entire country. And as I was doing research, I started realizing that's us. We're actually in that same boat. Now, a lot of that, what can really be done at this type of level? There are things that can be done, but a lot of it has to do with monetary policy, the Fed, and things like that. But I think there are some practical things that you guys are probably already doing. I don't know all of them, but just wanted to bring attention to some of the ideas that from my world and what I do on a daily basis might add some value. So there's a thing called the tourism economic cycle, and there are many towns like Asheville and Boone, North Carolina, Highlands, North Carolina, Cashiers, North Carolina, where tourism floods, and what ends up happening is housing prices rise, and the wage doesn't really change for people working every day. And so as the house prices raise and the regular people don't get raises, money's flowing in from the outside, and it's causing a problem to where people like me working everyday jobs don't have the opportunity to really live here and work here. So I don't want to say tourism is wrong, because it's not, and it's a strength that we have, but we have to kind of weld it correctly. And so I just want to ask you guys if you would want to schedule a work session to review a balanced plan, maybe some stronger STR regulations and enforcements, support for missing middle housing near existing infrastructure, and investment in a second economic engine. That's key, a second economic engine outside of tourism. Okay.
Would you guys like to allow him to go on? Is there
Yes.
a motion? Okay. Is there a second? Okay.
Thank you. So, yeah, investment in second economic engine, fiber, year-round job sectors, plus a dedicated housing fund. I think a great example is Panel Bill. Panel Bill is a company that is good small industry. Fiber is important to allow remote workers who can make a good amount of money to bring funds back into the economy. And so basically anything like maker industry, small industry, try to develop this town and have it not so reliant on tourism, using the tourism as our strength, like I said, but try to create a balanced approach. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Very good points. Yeah. And hopefully this new council taking in January, you guys will have an opportunity to maybe schedule a workshop with Mr. Wazelet. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. There is no need for executive session. So with that, meeting, oh, yes, you do.
Madam, since Angie and I put together the rules, I rise to a point of personal privilege.
Proceed.
I want to thank the city of Blue Ridge for letting me serve on this council for 4 years, and I'm grateful for the trust that you put in me. I also want to say that over the last several months, the interim city managers and the staff have done a remarkable job of digging through incomplete financial records, bringing us a legally compliant and balanced 26 budget. I want to say for the newspaper, the city is now in far better shape than it's been at any time since we lost our city administrator and our finance director. And with careful stewardship, there's a real room to grow revenues, financial stability, and undertake capital projects which are not in this particular budget. I also want to acknowledge my council members. We've worked much more together constructively in recent months. It's been healthier, more thoughtful voting has replaced some of the division we had in the past, and that gives me confidence in the future. There are major opportunities ahead. We have to adjust the tourism issue, like the banker, work with the train, figure out our parking, make it fair. And I'm worried about our downtown businesses. They need to be protected. I think the train draws people to McKaysville. They spend so much money on parking and on the train. They come back and they haven't got enough money to buy anything but a sticker and a t-shirt. I think you need to figure out how to handle that. I believe that the city needs to be appropriately compensated for the use of its assets. That's going to be the water and the other assets that we have. We need to protect them. Those decisions are critical for the long-term health of our local merchants and our economy. I also want to speak to the fact that the new council has lost one of the most valuable things that I have seen since I've been here, and that's tribal knowledge. Between Angie and Rhonda, there's decades of knowledge about what happened. So you can ask them how they get that 5-story hotel built, or why is this road this way? Now, they may not agree, but at least they've got some background and they can tell us, so we have some understanding of what came before us. When they leave next week, you're back to people whose tribal knowledge is 4 years long, and that's not good enough. I want to congratulate the mayor and the new council members and wish them success. I want you to strongly try to build on the progress that we've made, protect the city finances, but more importantly, I want you to support our staff. The staff knows what they're doing. We need somebody to take Mandy's place. You can't stay here forever. And we need to worry about our residents, our visitors, and our business owners. And I've said since the first day we were here that the economic engine of not only Blue Ridge, but this county and several of the surrounding counties and everything that's in that big bowl is tourism. And the Levi plant's gone and we don't make anything, and we gotta find something. And I use a place I'm very familiar with, and that was Ireland. Everybody had a cottage, burned wood, and they had a wooden house until the kids got educated and they brought high tech. They began to make pacemakers, and they brought in high tech industry. Bubba's got 100, or maybe it's 90. I forgot. He always tells how many there are. Kids that are working, and we need to get those. We need to do something, and I'm not going to have the opportunity to be part of it. So, thank you again for allowing me to serve you. This has been one of the greatest privileges of my life, and now I've got to learn how to be retired. Thanks.
Angie, would you like to take a point of privilege, say final thoughts?
First of all, Dr. Whaley, thank you for that. That was very well said, and I agree with them 100%. Probably in this room, I have lived here longer than anyone, so I'm telling my age a little bit, but I do love the city. We've all got different ideals of what we want for the city, but I do love the city and the people that live here, and it's been an honor to serve everyone. I think it's time though for a new generation to take the reign, and I look forward to y'all making the decisions for the city and for the citizens and for the business owners, and again, I'm honored that I could be part of this, and hope that if anybody needs any or has any questions or anything, feel free to call. I do have a lot of knowledge. I mean, I take what I do very seriously when I do it, but again, I'm very grateful that we do have a great community to live in, and that we've got leaders that was willing to step up and take on this task. So thank you for that. I thank the citizens and everyone, and again, Dr. Willie, thank you for that. That was very, very well said.
Thank you. And I'll take just a minute. I want to give a few words of wisdom that I have obtained over the last 16 years to all the council members who are here. I would first give you the recommendation to change your charter. Make that one of your top priorities. It's antiquated in many ways. It needs to be updated. My opinion, a city manager form of government, there are many things about it. Just even when your meetings, have your newly elected officials sworn in the first day of January. Why wait until the third week? Make sure that's taken care of. There are many assets that the city has. I would definitely, if I were you guys, I would look at all of your assets and make sure you're aware of all the properties that the city owns, all the investment properties such as the train, Swan Drive-In. Make sure you're aware of all the wonderful upgrades that have been done at the sewer plant, the water plant. Take a tour. Make sure you're aware of all that, because those are valuable assets to the city. I would also look at parking, as Dr. Whaley pointed out. I would make sure that a lot of people don't want to hear it, but you are giving away a gold mine by not having paid parking. And I know that's something that none of us wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole, but it truly is a necessity. And I think your most valuable parking is on East Main and West Main. You have the ability to make probably close to $300,000 to $500,000 a year doing that, and you're just giving that money away right now by allowing 3-hour parking. And again, I know that's something none of us want to say, but it needs to be said. I would also recommend that you guys, we have some debt with the water sewer department. The goal was originally to purchase the property over on Windy Hill and move both water and sewer employees over there, you have a very valuable property sitting at the end of East Main Street that should be sold, and that would pay off the debt for the building on Windy Ridge. That would be one of my top recommendations. I would highly recommend that this city become a city of ethics. GMA highly recommends that, and that would be probably one of the first things I would do. I would do that in January. I would become a city of ethics. And you can also create an ethics committee comprised of citizens. And that right there holds all of us accountable for our actions, and it holds a higher standard for this community. And those are my recommendations for the upcoming council members. That's from all my 16 years of knowledge. And with that, I would like to say that I appreciate the opportunity. I've loved being part of the city. I will still remain a part of this city, and I'll be around if you guys ever have any questions, any concerns, anything you need. Jennifer calls me quite often. Hey, do you remember when this happened? Yeah, just, I think it was around 2012, maybe, and she'll go back and look through records. And so Angie and I both have that knowledge. Dr. Whaley, we've got knowledge. So reach out to us. Let us be a part of it. Thank you all for letting me serve as your mayor, as your council.
Thank you.